All right, we're back again. This is going to get more consistent. We're going to probably go two times a week. One earlier in the week, and then another video talking about the game that's going to happen when the football season starts. Week 0 is upon us. Saturday. I guess really the two games that I'll be watching will be Iowa State, Kansas State, and Ireland, Farmageddon. And then Stanford and Hawaii. Stanford's going to Hawaii. It's interesting just to see. And it's at like 8 o'clock, so you'll be able to watch a little bit of it. It's not like a 11 p.m. Hawaii kickoff like usual. Anyway, but let's talk about what we're all here for, which is Georgia football. Remember to like and subscribe. Terminus Sports _ATL. On YouTube, if you like it, leave a comment, hit the bell. Also, social media is Terminus Sports _ATL, Instagram, TikTok, and X, formerly Twitter. But let's get into Georgia football. What have you been hearing around camp? And let's see if I hear anything differently.
I think the general consensus was that the defense won the first scrimmage, and the offense was lagging behind, and seems to be the consensus was coming out of the second scrimmage that the offense had a better day. I know Kirby was lamenting the fact in the first scrimmage it wasn't really hot, so wasn't able to see if the guys were able to push through. But I think this second scrimmage it was a little bit hotter. The conditions were more of what I think Kirby wanted to see, and he said they didn't execute like I think he wanted them to, but they continued to try to push through. So that was the general takeaway of the scrimmage. And I don't know about camp overall, if you want to talk about sort of the general big picture feeling coming out of camp was, but that's specifically about the scrimmage. I don't know anything different than what you heard.
I heard, so the offensive line I read from Graham Coffey, George Foster, who former Georgia player. I heard some other former Georgia players went. Obviously, it's the Letterman scrimmage, and I read and saw what they were talking about. Offensive line had a much better day than the first scrimmage, evidently. It looks like Juan Gaston is probably going to start at guard. I wouldn't be surprised, though, especially in that first game. We're going to see a heavy rotation.
Yeah, I agree. Probably the first two games, actually.
Yeah, and I think Georgia, some people would say this is not a good thing, but Kirby has kind of changed my thinking a little bit on this. I still don't 100% agree. They are 7 deep at offensive line. They can, outside of center, really, they can plug and play. So that part of it, I'm not too worried about. So I feel pretty good. I think Daniel Calhoun, I know he's been injured. I'm a big fan of his. I think whenever he's able to play, and when
he looks like a football player just getting off the bus.
Yeah, and he's got good feet work. I know a lot of people don't care about offensive line stuff, so I'm not going to bore you with it. But I thought he was going to be the starter going into this year, but it looks like Juan Gaston won over the spot for right now. But obviously we'll see. But if you're a freshman playing offensive line at the University of Georgia, that means you're pretty damn good. And
you're a grown man.
I'll tell you another thing: if you're a tackle and they move you to guard, because you're you have to be that good.
They're looking to find a place for you.
Yeah. So that was really good to see. Like I said in the last recording, I'm not going to really worry too much about the offense. Defense was going to be ahead of them. We'll see it all come together. I think it's starting to gel together. I think this offensive line should be better. Also, another thing that I heard, C.J. Wiley had one of the biggest days out of anybody. Anybody on offense, he had the biggest day. And I think a lot of people probably think he's going to get a lot of playing time. And I do too. I think he's super talented. Obviously, I'm going to root for him because Milton. So it's not hard to, pull for him. And then the cornerbacks are really good. They're deep. Defense, the defensive line's young, but they're good. Another thing that I heard was, these practices are having a little bit of a different edge to them compared to last year from people viewing. Now, I don't know. Here's the thing: is that people selling themselves on? Well, it's not going to be like last year where it was this, cluster and herky jerky type feel to the season. Are they trying to sell themselves on this Georgia team is going to be better just because they know they're young? Are they trying to give themselves something to look forward to? Or is this team actually that talented? I saw George Foster. I know I'm going long here, but George Foster put a tweet out, and he said this feels a lot like 21. If it all comes together, this team could be really special. And so I'm going to err on the side of, him more so than my inner Larry Munson thoughts. And another thing that I've noticed too, and I know you can take it with a grain of salt. I've noticed it a lot. Everywhere Josh Pate has gone and talked with other media outlets and other podcasts, it was fairly interesting because every time George is brought up, and especially when they do like SEC predictions, he goes, if Georgia's offensive line is a typical Georgia offensive line, I have no problem saying they're going to win the national championship. So, and I know Kirby likes Josh Pate a lot. That coaching staff likes Josh Pate a lot. I think Josh Pate knows something that none of us know. And I think he thinks his offensive line is good enough, and he thinks that Georgia, but he's more so in a prove it because he hasn't picked them in any of his spots. I think he's picked Alabama both time or every time I've seen him pick the conference. But I think he might know something that we don't know, and I think he's in a prove it to see it type deal. But I think the talk coming out of camp and going into fall camp is that this team's really good. It's just a matter of if.
Well, here's a couple of things that I would say. Generally, coming out of camp, I think the general thing is this team's younger. That's an empirical fact, and therefore, and it's Georgia, because they're Georgia and it's Kirby Smart's staff. They've recruited alphas. So if you got a bunch of young alphas and the coaching staff, you would have to assume, and I think Kirby does a lot of self-scouting, if you will, or self-criticism. Right. And I think if he's looking back over last year, he has to say that they didn't meet the standard that this program has set throughout his tenure. And what got Georgia beat? It was a veteran-laden team, by and large, last year. You saw the slow starts. That is focus, that's energy, that's passion, that's all these buzzwords. My guess is because you've got a young team, you've got alphas, and you've got a coaching staff that says we can't let that happen again. And hey, the biggest critique, and I know you said you may not like talking about offensive line play, and we said it a couple of weeks back, or I did. As the offensive line goes, so goes this team. And Georgia was not able to run the ball at any consistent level last year. So I think the offense knows it's got to be able to run the ball, and you got a young quarterback that needs to be protected to some extent by being able to run the ball. And I do believe the receivers are under the radar. I hope I'm proving right. Going into the season last year, I said the same thing, so I hope I'm not jinxing them. But I think under the radar, this could be one of the better wide receiver rooms as a group in the entire country. They got size, they got speed, especially when you add the tight end room to that receiving element. It could be something interesting, but the proof's in the pudding. But I think the general overall consensus, this team seems to be a lot more energetic and a lot hungrier. And usually when you get that, along with alphas and a coaching staff that knows where they've fallen short the year prior, you could have a little bit of a different edge coming out. So I'm taking a wait and see attitude as well. But for all the reasons I just gave you, I think there's something to that overall consensus. This team's hungrier and has a little bit more passion for the game. And I heaven hope that we're not seeing the slow starts like we saw the last couple of years.
Yeah, I keep hearing that Georgia's offense are not offense, but the alpha position room is the wide receiver group. And I heard Jordan Rodgers, who has never really been the biggest Georgia wide receiver fan ever. Like every chance he's ever gotten, he's shit on Georgia's wide receivers. He said that this is the best wide receiver room that Kirby Smart's ever had, and he's excited to see Noah Thomas. And they explained that Georgia's never really had an X since George Pickens, a dude that you can line up. He's a difference maker with his size and his speed, and it's going to make reading the defenses for Gunner easier. So if they can run the ball and, reading the defensive backfields are a lot easier, I suspect that the offense should be a lot better. And then really it falls down on Gunner to at least manage it well enough and not turn the ball over and put Georgia into good positions to win and play complementary football. I mean, it comes down to that really simple stuff. If they can do that, I think Georgia will be fine.
Did you happen to catch Kirby's press conference after the second scrimmage when the opening question was, I know you're not naming a starting quarterback, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, so you guys can write about it? And then he went out and they said, well, what are you looking for specifically out of Gunner this season? And he said, just good decisions. In other words, don't put us in a bad situation and understand the game. He said a lot of quarterbacks have so much going on. He said, I honestly think they forget what down is, what's down and distance. So he said just making really good decisions and understanding the game of football. So, if we can run the ball and Gunner makes good decisions and we don't turn the ball over and the receivers can actually catch, I think, Georgia has a chance of being really good, and certainly the schedule would line up to be favorable for Georgia. As we mentioned, I don't think there's a game that Georgia's not favored in. So, we'll see what happens. I'm excited for the season to start.
Yeah, and to that point, according to an Auburn podcast, does Georgia really even scare you? And I guess they're right. We might as well. I know Auburn's claimed. By the way, side note, off topic here, but have you seen what Auburn did with the national championships?
No, what national championships?
Exactly. They've claimed like
the one they paid for before it was legal to pay for it?
Yeah. They claimed 7 more national champions, so they're 9-time national champions. They claimed 2004 as a national championship.
I don't even know what happened. I can't remember yesterday.
04, that was Cadillac and Jason Campbell, and they went undefeated. But USC. I don't think they would have probably beat USC. There's no way. So, whatever. I guess I could be wrong, but yeah, they're 9-time national champions. Auburn, not 2-time. So
I don't know. It's pretty sad that you're having to claim national championships that don't even exist to prove your worth. But anyway.
Well, I think they might know something that the season's not going to be as good as they think it is, and so they're trying to give them something. I gave them kudos last one, so it was kind of bad that happened. But anyway, look at the 2 games that Gunner played in. Texas, one bad decision, that interception, whenever they got the ball back from Quinn Ewers' interception. If they go on and let's say they stall, they kick a field goal, they never go into overtime. It's not this, tight, can they win type game. That game would be on ice. Georgia probably wins by 10 or more in that game. And then the Notre Dame game, Kirby talked about in his press conference, the middle eight. That's the most important part of football.
Game got away from us. Yeah.
It literally, I think, not even a minute went off of game clock, and they scored 17 or 21 points, however many it was.
I think it was a 17-turn point swing in the last possession of the second half, and they ran that kickoff back. So, it was a 17-point.
And that was, again, turnovers. I know Gunner couldn't do a whole lot on that other than hang on to the ball, but that's what, I'm talking about. Just you got to hang on to the ball. Don't put the ball in bad situations. Play compliment. If you got to take a sack, take a sack. It's okay to take sacks whenever, sometimes it's okay not to put the ball up in the air. So I think that is what Kirby's saying. And if Georgia does that and they have a good turnover margin and they're in the plus of that, I think they should be one of the top 5 teams in the country.
And if the Georgia defense can just play consistently, that was the other big problem with Georgia's defense. They'd have a good game, and then they would come back and get torched. Right. So I think it was a Mississippi State game where they allowed them to score 31 points, and they were one of the worst teams in the SEC, and probably will be again this year. But consistent play. And not making stupid decisions on offense and consistent play by defense will go a long way towards getting Georgia in the playoffs.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about the SEC conference as a whole. What are your predictions for the?
I think if you're looking at, I'm just going to pick the top tier teams. I guess the top 4 teams. Georgia, Texas, Alabama, and I'm going to throw in one that's probably going to, and I think he's just under enormous pressure to produce. I think LSU is going to be pretty good. So I think those are the 4 teams that you could see coming out of the SEC to be playing in the playoffs.
I wouldn't be surprised. LSU they have the pieces to win a national championship. I just don't know if it can happen. I don't know. They're a huge question mark because on paper you look at them and you go, oh wow, they're going to be good, and then you've seen the past couple of years under Brian Kelly, and you go, well, how did they lose the A&M game? How did they lose the Florida game? Like, there's games where they lose, and you're like, what? How the hell did they lose these games? So, I think LSU could be that. Also, and I don't think a lot of people are talking about it. There's only really one guy that's been talking about it nationally, and that's Josh Pate. I hate to keep giving him free advertisement here. But the middle of the conference, really good. I mean, South Carolina has probably the best quarterback or the best offensive player in the conference, and probably has the best defensive player in the conference with Stewart and Lenore Sellers. They could be really good, but
you looked at their schedule?
Their schedule's hard.
Yeah.
Florida, if they can turn it around, which I don't really think so, but if they can, they have a hard schedule. But if they, are 6-1 by the time they play Georgia, they have a good chance to at least finish 9-3, and that might be enough with their schedule that they have to get them in the playoff. Same with Oklahoma. They have offense is supposed to be new and it's going to be great. If they sit at 9-3 with their with their schedule, that's enough to get them into the playoffs. So I think Tennessee as well. I mean, there's a good chance that Tennessee can.
Boy, they got a lot of unknowns, though, right? I mean,
Yeah, they have a ton of unknown, but Tennessee fans are high and mighty on Josh Heupel. So I have no idea. The middle of the conference is really compact, and I think 8-4 for a lot of these teams is like a 10-2, like a good solid team.
I totally agree with that. In another conference, yeah.
Yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's a sleeper team like a South Carolina that pierces through. I wouldn't be surprised if Oklahoma comes through. But I think it's the SEC championship. I'll go ahead. You were a chicken. You didn't pick two people or two teams. I'll go with Georgia to play, and I'll go LSU to play. I think Alabama. I don't know. There's a lot of questions, and I just don't know if DeBoer is the guy. I know there's a lot of people nationally that keep thinking that DeBoer is the guy, and he might be. I could be totally wrong. But I just don't think culturally it fits, and you've seen that kind of in recruiting. Obviously, no one's ever going to hit the same levels as Kirby Smart and Nick Saban on one staff recruiting. I just don't think that's ever going to happen again. But it is starting to kind of dip down a little bit. So I just don't know about Alabama. Texas, I know a lot of people have faith in Texas, and that's wonderful. They're replacing a ton of guys on defense. I know Sark said that these are the guys that he's recruited and he's developed. Doesn't have a really good track record with that. I saw what he did at USC. I know he went to the Alabama coach rehabilitation program. I don't know how that's going to work out. And Arch Manning might be the second coming. But again, I didn't see anything where I go, wow, he's Joe Burrow level type quarterback.
I was shocked to some extent, even though Kirby said that he thought Texas coaching staff and Sarkisian's used him exactly the right way. I was shocked that they didn't use him a little bit more than what they did. So I agree. I think there's a ton of question marks. He could be the second coming. I don't know. And I'm with you on DeBoer at Alabama. Culturally down there or over there, I just don't know if it's going to be a good fit. But I do think if I had gun to my head, even though I picked LSU as my dark horse and be at the top of the conference, I would say Texas and Georgia once again played an SEC championship.
I wouldn't be surprised because of how easy Texas' schedule is. I mean, the SEC
2 years in a row, actually.
Yeah, I gave it to them on a platter. But Texas does have to go to Florida.
Well, it's not an easy task. I don't know when is that game. Do you know?
I think we might have flip-flopped with them, so it's probably in October. I'm not 100%
Still going to be hot, and if it's an afternoon game, welcome to the swamp. That's going to be
it's not easy. And honestly, that's like pulling for Hitler or Stalin in that game. I don't really care who wins it, but they have an easy schedule, so they can do it. But again, I think if LSU is right, they can walk through that schedule pretty easily outside of the opening game and the Alabama game, honestly. If they win those two games, I think LSU will probably be the clear-cut number one. And then, because their schedule is very favorable. It's a very easy schedule. All right. I told you to think of a national champion. You got scared before we hit record because you were like, I have to think about it. I have it. I think given how I've been talking, I might be really delusional. I have mine, and I know.
Let me guess yours because I tell you which one. I think it's going to be the playoff game revisited from a couple years back. I think it's going to be Georgia and Ohio State. Those are the
national championship.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be. I think Georgia's going to win. I think they're really being slept on. I think this team is extremely talented. I think last year was a rebuilding year, as the Alabama fans would say, and they still won the conference championship. I think this team could be very special. So I'm going to sell myself on all this. I'm going to say, why not? We're going to dance with the devil. I don't know. I think it's going to be Penn State. I think they're going to get there. And
I would like my chances against James Franklin in the national championship game. I really would.
Yeah, I do too. I wouldn't be surprised though if Oregon's there, but I think this is going to come down to Oregon, Penn State, and then Georgia, and however it's seeded, however it works out. Obviously, with the playoff, you never know. But I think Georgia, Penn State. I think those are the two best teams on paper in college football.
I know people are high on Penn State, so I'm just not high on James Franklin and Big
I'm not
Ten
either. I'm not either, but they have a quarterback. They have a very veteran offense. They have a veteran defense. I know they replaced some guys. They have a very easy schedule. They should make it to the Big Ten title game, whether that's Ohio State or Oregon. They should be in it. And because of that, they'll be the media darlings. They'll get an easy spot in the playoffs and probably, do enough to get to the national title.
All right. Well, I got Ohio State and Georgia. You have Georgia and Penn State. We'll see if we're anywhere close.
Do you want to pick the G5? Because I can tell you the G5 team that's going to play.
Go ahead. I don't know.
Who is the best coach in all of the G5? Do you used to coach in the SEC?
Hickey Madoodle, Malzahn.
No. He's at Florida State. He's the OC at Florida
Oh,
State.
that's right. Yeah. I don't know who.
Dan Mullen. UNLV. The Running Rebels. I think he's not recruiting. You know what he's doing?
No, I heard he wasn't recruiting.
He's taking all the rejects in this NIL transfer portal era that are, they played at Division I teams and they either got kicked off or something didn't work out for them. They're really talented guys with high upside, but no one wants to touch them because of, something went wrong. He's taking those guys. They're paying them in Las Vegas. And last year, if they beat Boise State in the Mountain West championship game, they were going to go to the playoffs. UNLV was one of the better teams in the G5.
Almost going to be like a minor league Oakland Raiders from the 70s. It's just going to be the Outlaws.
Yes, with the biggest idiot as a coach. So, I think UNLV is going to be there. So I'll pick them. I would love to see Dan Mullen in a playoff game. It would warm my heart a little bit. He finally did it, and Florida fans can't complain.
Right.
There you go.
Yeah,
all right.
I don't have enough insight to pick my G5, so I'll go with yours. It sounds good. Be a good story.
Plus, they play in the Allegiant Stadium. That would be kind of cool to see a playoff game in the Roomba in Vegas. All right. Well, remember to like and subscribe. Hit the bell if you want to be notified whenever we upload these videos. They're going to come more often, 2 times a week. Obviously, one earlier in the week. Hopefully, on Mondays. We're going to shoot for it at least, given our schedules. And then obviously, Thursday night, there'll be a prediction on all of college football, the big games, and then obviously Georgia and how we see the game going. So remember to hit that notification bell. And then also on social media, Instagram, TikTok, X, formerly Twitter, Terminus Sports _ATL. All right. Before we go, any prediction on Kansas State, Iowa State?
I don't know. I'll just throw it. I'll take Kansas State.
Okay, I'll take them too. I think Avery Johnson's still there. I don't know. I'll be shocked as anybody if I don't see him.
They still have the quarterback that's got the flow again. Okay,
yeah.
That's the reason I'm picking them.
All right, we'll see you on the other side.
All right, see you.